Hi, I'm Katie. I graduated from the social work program, the BSW program, in 2014. I currently work at South Metro Human Services. I'm a mental health case manager. My main role is linking people to resources within the community and coordinating with their providers, making goals with them about their mental health. And high-level overview of what South Metro does, we do a lot. We have adult foster care, we have a treatment facility for mental health and chemical dependency, we have case management, both at the targeted case management as well as assertive community treatment levels, and then we also have an outpatient clinic where we do therapy, psychiatry, DBT groups, support groups.
Hello. I like to be interactive. Hello. Good to know that other people are in the room. So my name is Kiana Joyner. I went to St. Thomas for the undergrad program in 2012 and then graduated from the master's program in 2013. I did the one-year advanced program. Currently, I am a program director at Air Healthcare Solutions. So kind of what my organization does is we will do interventions for people, not just chemical dependency, but also eating disorder or trauma or mental health. It's a very large spectrum. Also, we can transport people to or from treatment. We can send a clinician to someone's area to kind of stay with them for a little bit. The portion that I'm the director of is the clinical case management area, where it's over the phone, and we work with patients and their families and professionals for a whole year after they leave treatment to really make sure that they're staying accountable to their treatment plan and have the support that they need, and helping families set boundaries and kind of working with the whole system.
Let's see. Oh man, I knew I was gonna ruin it right away. Hi. Hi, thank you. I'm also very interactive. I would prefer to hold this. Is that okay? Hi, my name is Emily, and I graduated with my BSW in 2013 from St. Kate's St. Thomas, and I'm a licensed social worker at the Emily Program Foundation. So what we do at the Emily Program Foundation is we are a nonprofit organization in the Twin Cities that works towards the prevention of eating disorders, and we do that through outreach and advocacy efforts, and also with providing support for family members and friends who are kind of supporting somebody who's going through treatment for an eating disorder. We also have a scholarship program for those who are seeking treatment for eating disorders, and so we kind of run programs like that. We also run support programs, and what my role is specifically at the Alumni Program Foundation is, as a social worker, is to do the community education and run our friends and family support groups. So my primary role is to be out in community spaces every single day to have conversations with folks about eating disorders, body image, and media literacy. And so I get to teach people about eating disorders to help them recognize what an eating disorder is and how it's impacting individuals, communities, and families, and how they can communicate and support somebody that's going through something like that. And I also help run our family and friends support groups that happen at all 3 of the metro locations of the Emily program. So I believe I addressed that.
I'm Chris Beamish. I'm a clinic manager at Fairview Counseling Centers. I went through the University of St. Thomas MSW program in 2006 and worked at Catholic Charities for about 5 years. Did some work at Ramsey County Crisis shortly thereafter. I also worked at South Metro for a little while. And as in my current role at Fairview, as a clinic manager, we have one of the biggest behavioral services across the 5-state area. We have outpatient CD, inpatient CD services. We have day treatment programs, partial hospitalization, outpatient counseling, which is a big part of my my scope. So we have about 31 therapists who do individual, couples, and family work largely across the Fairview Medical Group primary care system. So as a system, we have over 575,000 patients that are attributed to us, and about 33% of those have a mental health condition. So there's a huge recognition of behavioral and social work, the importance of social work in our settings. So just some of the ways that social work shows up then in our workplace. we have social workers in EAP, employee assistant programs. We have social workers in all those behavioral departments that I talked about. One of the most new and trending positions is a behavioral health clinician role that I'm really passionate about. It's putting a behavioral health provider elbow to elbow with the primary care team, supporting early identification of patients with behavioral health issues. So when you go into primary care, you'd see a behavioral health provider just like you would your primary care provider, sitting in the same lobby, not being referred down the hall or across the street into the black hole of mental health, but really being able to do a quick meet and greet with a behavioral provider to normalize that experience for patients. So huge part of my work is to support behavioral integration into our big health system. So as departments identify a need for behavioral health, and more they're doing that, I go to them and talk about what kind of services we have available, help with the onboarding of new people, so I help with the interview selection process, orienting people, and then providing ongoing management and support of those individuals once they're there, so they don't end up in a specialty clinic with being on kind of an island without behavioral support themselves, because we all know the importance of consulting, right? So very excited in my work at Fairview. A lot of opportunity for social work and behavioral services there, and I think that's a trend we're seeing definitely across healthcare right now.
Hi, my name is Danielle DeRose. I work at Neighborhood House. I graduated last May, so like almost a year ago, in my BSW. And so yeah, I work at Neighborhood House. It's a nonprofit we work in St. Paul on the west side, east side, and then we actually also have a family center like 5 minutes away in the Highland area, West 7th. So Neighborhood House, it's a settlement house. It's been around for like 100 years, so it's really got its foundation in the community, which is cool. And we mostly help immigrants and refugees with almost like anything they can ask for. So we have a basic needs department. It does food support, case management, but then we also do a lot of youth involvement, and then we also have adult education classes. And then I'm in the early childhood department, so I'm the child development specialist. So we have 2 free preschools. One's down the street, like 5 minutes. And then the other one is on the west side of St. Paul. So we have a free preschool program. And then I also do the home visiting. So each family gets 1 home visit a month, which is great to like just bridge the gap between, you know, like what's happening at school, what's happening at home. And then also, since there are a lot of immigrant families, it's nice to just like build relationships. And it's been really fun for me to work with those families. So, any other questions? Yeah.
All right. So the question I have here, but I want to add a little bit to it, is what brought you to social work and continues to excite you about the profession? And I would also, so that's sort of a broad, general question, but I also want to know what brought you to the job that you're at? Would you say a little bit of something? So social work in general, but what brought you to the place that you're at right now? Does anybody want to start? We can go down the line, but if somebody's like, yes, I'm ready to answer it, you can.
I can go first. So it was funny, my path was a little bit, there was no clear dotted line. After graduating high school, I took some general education classes at community college, and I did a career interest inventory to figure out, you know, where should I be going, what's my interests align with, and right on top it said social work. And I said, no way. I need to be going into business or something. This isn't right. And the description of social work was largely a reason for that. It said that it was largely going out to people's homes, driving around in your own car, and I was thinking, that doesn't sound like anything I want to do. There's a special person who does that, but it wasn't me. And so I continued down the path of taking some business courses and quickly found that wasn't for me. And when I'd be at the library studying, it was just kind of serendipity. There'd be like a book on the table in the library that would be about social work. And it was kind of like, how many times did I have to hit my head against the wall before I accepted that this was the path for me? And I finally took a course at Metropolitan State in social work, and I said, I'll just take one, and I'll see what I think. And I loved it, and I went to the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire for my BSW. And when I was there, had the opportunity to do an internship either in Eau Claire, here in the Twin Cities, or in South Africa. And it was like, well, that's obvious. Let's go to South Africa. So I went to Durban, South Africa for 3 months, worked with kids in an orphanage. And they had some kids who had HIV, others who had CD, chemical dependency issues. And so after graduating, worked at South Metro, and within 6 months went back and got my master's degree here at St. Thomas. And how did I get in my current position? Everywhere I've been, whether it's social work related or not in jobs, people have looked to me and said, hey, you'd make a good administrator, a good manager someday. Whether it was working at UPS or my early jobs at a golf course, or when I was even in South Africa, people would see that skill within me. And I wrestled with that when I finally decided to take a leap from doing direct care into management, because I thought that's a big transition, and I'm really going to miss patient care, and will I be happy with that? And I can't say that I don't miss it. I absolutely do miss it. But now I get to see the work and have other employees who I'm able to work through in providing great care. And so the direction I'm able to provide them and the way that we're able to change the care delivery to improve patients' experience is something that continues to drive me now.
Thank you, and thanks for that plug for international social work as well. Because I know there are some students who are interested in that also. So
That was one of the, aside from kids and getting married, that was the best decision I've ever made.
there you go. Third after kids and marriage.
Yeah.
Well,
Life-changing.
who else is ready to share? I'm going to ask each of
I'll
you
go.
for this one because I think it's a good one for everybody. All right, Emily.
All right, cool. I'll go next. So, what initially brought me to social work? So, I was very similar to Chris in the fact that when I was in high school, I did also a very similar assessment that you did because I had no idea what I wanted to do. And it was that assessment that kind of pinpointed me into that area. And everything that I was doing in my life, I was always happened to be doing something in advocacy, something in community education, something in, working out in the community, doing outreach, doing awareness work. And one of my friends that I was very close to at the time ended up turning to me and said, Emily, why are you wondering about this? You're a social worker. It's like, wait, what? I'm a what? And she goes, yeah, you need to do social work. And so I chose to go to St. Kate's for that because I thought after she mentioned it to me, I did some research on it and figured that it fit. And I was hooked on my very first class, Intro to Social Work. And I loved it from that point on. And then I started to really realize that while I was in the track of social work here with St. Kate's St. Thomas, that I always sort of felt like the odd one out because I was not interested in clinical social work or case management. I always wanted to do more of the broader spectrum of social work. I was really, really interested still in doing more of that community education work, more of that advocacy work. And so when I got further on into my path, I think my more junior, senior year, when the classes started integrating more of that type of work into our courses, I really started appreciating that and started to be able to form, a social work lens around that type of work, which I really, really appreciated. And from what continues to excite me about social work is how broad social work really can be. I know we were all kind of talking about that just a little bit ago and how the social work profession really can, be lots and lots and lots of different things. And that's one of the most beautiful things about social work, I think, is that it can do tons and tons of different stuff. And what brought me to the current work that I do right now, personally in my life, I have a lot of experience with eating disorders. I've supported several people, and I knew that I had a lot of passion and a lot of interest in that. And I also, from my internships that I did my junior and senior year, I ended up falling into doing community education work. I connected with the person that was doing it there when I was at the Bridge for Youth, and she really started fostering that in me. And she guided me towards that, and I knew I really wanted to keep doing it. After I graduated, I did the St. Joseph Worker Program, and that placed me at the location that placed me at the Emily Program Foundation. And when I was finished with that internship, they asked me to stay, and I said yes.
All right, Kiana.
I'll just say this is a little easier.
Okay. So initially when I came to St. Thomas for undergrad, I thought that I wanted to be a science major, which is very different. So taking courses, I loved chemistry and everything. But just some things it just didn't seem to click. It just wasn't completely a natural feel for me. And I've always been one that random people would tell me their life stories or, just kind of things like that. And I would love kind of helping people and connecting with them on a deeper level. And I had a friend that was actually a social work major, and he had presented that option to me, and I felt like, oh, gosh, I've already been doing science for a year. I don't want to have to stay an extra year in college or try to, I don't know. I was kind of making excuses, and he said, well, think about, this one decision could change the rest of your life. And even if you had to do an extra year, wouldn't that be worth it? I didn't need to do an extra year. Everything worked out very seamlessly, and getting into the program and the internships, absolutely loved that portion of this program. Was at Tubman interning there, was at Boys Totem Town with the youth there in the detention center. Also was at Neighborhood Involvement Program, which is no longer in place, but all of these just continue to affirm that, yes, this is what I need to do. This is the field that's for me, and never turn back, from that. I got the job that I'm currently at now actually from a St. Thomas alum in the social work program. She had emailed one of her old professors and said, hey, could you just send this out to the class? So I was like, oh, I've never heard of this place before, and checked it out. And I never thought about, it was initially started as an addiction kind of company, and then it really broadened out from that. But I'd never thought of being in the field of addiction. I thought I really wanted to be with like at-risk youth and more of that population. But after interviewing there and seeing the emphasis on the family as well, and the systems approach that the company had, where it's not just trying to work with one individual and get them well, but then they go back into the same system, like I saw in the juvenile detention center, and they end up going back. that wasn't too appealing. So the thought of being able to work with families also to help them heal and their own recovery and work together and with other professionals, so that it's a very holistic and collaborative approach. That was very appealing. And it was very exciting to be able to get into the role and then to work my way up to being a director of the case management program, starting off as a clinical case manager. So like has already been said, I love the versatility of the field, and I don't have to settle for anything. I don't have to be put in a box or anything like that. I can really go after and do what I want to do with whatever level of licensure that you have. So.
Katie?
Okay, so when I started college at St. Thomas, I wanted to be a physical therapist. I had really no idea what I wanted to do. I just had a lot of experience with physical therapy throughout high school, so thought I should do it. Found out really quickly I was really bad at science, and quickly decided not to do that. I didn't know what I wanted to do, though, and I remember this specific conversation. I sat down with my parents, and they were like, what do you like? What do you like to do? And I really like Spanish. I was also a double major in Spanish, and I was like, I just want to speak Spanish with people. I just want to be with people and, spend time with people and get to know them and things like that. And we stumbled upon social work. I just don't even know how it came about. I ended up just trying it out. I was like, give it a shot, and loved the program. All of the courses, the professors, the level of engagement that I had within the program, the opportunities that I was given just made me fall in love with social work. And how did I end up at my job? So I also have never really known what I want to do in social work. So besides not knowing what I wanted to do initially, I also was like, I kind of like all of social work. I have experience doing research. I have experience doing case management with immigrants and refugees. I kind of like everything I do. And so I worked as an employment counselor right out of college, and then ended up at South Metro through a friend of mine who graduated from, she's in the MSW program right now at St. Thomas. And she's worked at South Metro for many years, has been telling me since I graduated, you have to apply, you have to apply. I ended up applying, and I have genuinely fallen in love with the mental health field. There's so many different aspects of, it's not just me and my clients day to day. It's me and my client. It's me and the client's provider. It's me doing stuff with their family. It's me working with people at the county level, working on things with some of our program directors in terms of legislation, advocating for all sorts of needs at different levels. And so it's one of the parts that I didn't really know how I would like the job. I didn't have much experience in mental health. I didn't know very much. And, 7 months into it now, I feel like I'm starting to understand it. And so that's a huge part of social work. You never know what you're doing until you get into it, and you might not know what you're doing for a little bit once you're into it. But social workers are awesome, and I love the field, so.
All right, thank you. And Danielle?
So I wanted to be a preschool teacher. Like when I was little, growing up, I've always loved children. And then when I was in high school, I did a bunch of teacher cadet programs and child development classes. And whenever I was in the classroom with the children, I noticed I was always drawn to like the kids that had the more behavioral issues. And then I was like, if I'm a teacher, how am I gonna be able to connect with those kids while also facilitating the class? And then I decided, I'll do like play therapy or something. And then I was actually at a college tour visit at Bethel, and the guy was a psychologist, and I'm like, I want to be a psychologist. And he's like, you know what, just be a social worker. If I could go back in time, I would have done social work. I was like, oh, okay. So then, so I've never seen that guy again, but he totally is the reason I'm doing social work, so that's cool.
Do you know why he said that?
Because he's like, I could have gotten a job right out of bachelor's, and now, all this. But, so yeah, that, I think, so Neighborhood House, that was my senior BSW internship. And like even like the first day there, I was like, I'm gonna be a preschool teacher and a social worker. Like this is my two dreams combined. And I love it because I'm like the assistant teacher, so I get to do behavioral interventions. And then with home visiting, I get to work with the whole family. I get to work with all the cultures. It's just like, I feel like I'm living in a dream sometimes. But I'm 6 months in, so maybe it's still the honeymoon phase. But I'm like, I just love my job so much. But yeah, I think what excites me the most about social work, like even with all my junior internship, senior internship, and now, is just like watching, being able to connect with people and like watching the relationship unfold, and like especially with the kids that are kind of rough on the edges and are just like resisting that, and then like just showering them with love and like affirmations, and then it's just like they slowly soften, and then they like finally you can connect with them. And it's just like so beautiful watching it. And like some kids it takes, a couple months, some kids it's like 2 weeks. But just like even with parents it happens too. So I just love connecting with people. It's really beautiful to see.
Nice, thank you all. As a lot of people in the room here are getting ready to graduate, I recognize a lot of seniors. And what could you say about what you think are key skill sets that social workers need to have? And maybe just even from your experience, if there's something that really stands out, like this is, if you have nothing else, you need this. And, part of this also comes from, we teach such a wide range, especially at the undergraduate level for generalists. Are there certain things that you saw, you've got to have this, that you could share about? And then anybody who wants to contribute to that question. All right.
So, number one, communication skills. You as a social worker will, no matter what type of work you're doing, are going to spend your entire day talking to people, and all sorts of different people, clients, providers, parents, family, children, everybody. Number two, being assertive. This is something that I had to learn once I became a social worker, is learning how to know not only what a client needs, but also like, what do I need? Like knowing what you need is really important in this situation, and knowing how to use your communication skills to voice that was huge for me. Learned that just recently, and it's just blown me away. That's my thing.
Do you have an example you can give?
Yeah, I suppose. Multiple of my clients are can be difficult and need a lot from me. And as a targeted case manager, our service, we're designed to see our clients once a month. It's very unrealistic for some clients. And in some situations, I have a client who will email me 5-6 times in a row. And if I don't respond, she'll call me. And I was scared because I was like, I don't want to ruin the relationship. And I knew that what I needed was to have time from her. And so I had to sit her down and say, when you send me an email, I'm working on it, I promise. When I get things from you, I'm doing it. And we had a really good conversation about what she needs and what I need, so kind of what the reciprocal part of our relationship. And she's improving slowly.
I want to ditto that. I think both of those are excellent pieces, especially the assertiveness, because as social workers, there's a stereotype of being very touchy-feely, soft, sensitive. There's all of those sorts of things that people have, and especially in my role, because I work a lot we have a multidisciplinary team, so we have like LADCs, we have counseling, we have LMFT, so there's a wide range, especially when it comes to like LADC versus social worker. There's like, LADCs are hard, but social workers are soft and touchy, whatever.
Do you mind saying what LIDC is for people
Yes,
who might not
licensed
know?
alcohol and drug counselor. So what's been cool is really developing that skill of being direct and assertive as a social worker, because it kind of, you stand out when you are that sort of person, and it's very beneficial to you as a clinician, as well as with the clients that you're working with, where you set those boundaries of, nope, we're only talking once a week or whatever, or, like you said, of when I don't answer, this is what it is, or if you're seeing a behavior that is really unhealthy for someone, not beating around the bush, and saying, look, you're saying this, but you're doing this. It's not really lining up. But what do you want to do about that? Having those skills is so important, especially as a social worker with the stereotypes that are out there. So you made me think of that. What I was going to say was unconditional positive regard is something that really stands out, because, we really get into people's lives and their world and their trauma and, a lot of the terrible things that have happened, but really remembering their humanity and not letting their illness or disorder cause you to be callous towards them or not have hope for their situation, because as the person working with them, you have to maintain that hope, and you have to be that person that is positive and encouraging and helping to push them along the path. Otherwise, you're not doing your job if you don't even believe in them, because they don't believe in themselves a lot of times. So those are a couple things that really stand out.
Great. Thank you. It looked like, Danielle, did you I saw you reaching for the...
Yeah, I think
Everybody will get a
kind
chance.
of going off what she said, like at Neighborhood House, we have this like pledge, like we have a certain values, but one of them is like assume positive intent. We like do the Girl Scout thing. I don't even know how to do it, but
Will you move your microphone up a little bit?
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not sure it's capturing your voice. There we
so assuming positive intent. So, if a client's not we call them participants. If a participant doesn't show up, or like, I go to home visit, they're not home like 3 times in a row. Always just trying to think about the big picture and assume the best in them. And like, okay, maybe this happened, maybe this happened. That's been really helpful for me, I think. And even just another thing is, I think we can all sense when someone genuinely cares about you. So I've been trying to just like, I do really care about my participants, and I think they can sense that, and that's really helped the relationships develop the way they have. So I'm sure you guys will, but like just being genuine and really caring about your clients can totally make a difference.
I love hearing these social work values that we talk about in all the classes coming out here.
There's so many great responses here. I think, I would echo everything that's been said about communication.
Yours also need to be a little bit closer to your microphone. There we go.
I would echo what's been said about communication. That's just such a key skill. And so knowing yourself is a big part of that, right? And who are the patients or the people that you would have a hard time engaging with? What are the conditions or situations that people you'll be working with are going to be causing you to have some emotional entanglement? And working through that is key. Because you really got to know yourself and be able to be there for that client, that patient, or that team member. I can't tell you how many times those things will come up for you, where you'll either have a personal value, a belief, or a past experience where somebody reminds you of something that you've experienced in your life, and you got to work through that to be there for your patient, your client. Or if you can't, get consultation from your supervisor, get consultation from somebody, so that you can work through that over time, and make sure that patient or client gets directed to the somebody who can help them in that moment. Motivational interviewing is a key skill I'm a huge fan of and proponent of, that you'll find on application as you look to the web and you start looking at jobs. It's a skill that employers are looking for, has a lot of application across all settings, because it really is about skills that you can learn to engage patients effectively in change, or clients in change. So that's one for me that I really believe strongly in. But I think in addition to that, just going back to these somewhat intangible skills, it's not always about knowing the best theory. It's also just about being able to relate to people. And so I think that speaks again to knowing yourself and being able to engage with others in a relationship. And that happens at all levels of your work. It could be from talking to the CEO, to a manager, to a frontline staff, to a client. Being able to relate to people is key. And so when we do interviews, it's often more about what are those intangible skills, those soft skills, those relationship skills that are going to indicate that you might be more successful in engaging clients and patients, and we can teach you the rest. But we want to see that you've developed yourself and are able to relate to people as well.
All right. Not last but not least.
So, of course, I just love hearing social workers' perspectives. Just got to say that first. I think that on top of course, everything that has also been already said, remembering how to use your resources and to always use those resources as much as possible. I don't even know how I would be able to do my job without the resources that I have around me and my fellow social workers. So that has definitely been a skill that I have been able to use a lot. And remembering to meet your client where they're at. It's important to kind of remember, what sort of position is this client at versus their family members, especially because sometimes I'm working with, sometimes I'm talking to the client who's experiencing an eating disorder, and then I'm working with their family as well. And sometimes they want to be in two different places. And so it's remembering to kind of talk with their family and teach or educate their family on where their child is at, and figure out, where can I help these people come to that space at the same time. And it's also remembering, because of the type of social work that I do, everything that I learned from Marianne Brendan everything that I learned from Marianne Brendan was fantastic in our meso-macro social work course. I'm not exactly sure what the exact name of that course was, but...
Was that the 402 large client systems?
Yes, large client systems.
Yeah, they're stuck with me and Melissa Lundquist now, but hopefully we do as good a job as Marianne Brendan did.
So everything that I learned in large client systems was very, very helpful for what I'm doing now, and also everything that I learned in Group Works course. I still use those skills today, especially when we're doing group work classes with family members. I never know who's going to drop into a support group. It could be people who've been there for like years to come. It can be a bunch of brand new people. It can be grandma, and it can be boyfriend. It can be, people who are years down the road in supporting someone. And it can be somebody who just found out yesterday. So using all those group work skills is definitely something that I still access today, and I'm very thankful for it.
All right.
One more thing that wasn't mentioned, I just remembered. I see Carrie sitting back there. Self-care. Take it super seriously. I'm not kidding. I went through the whole BSW program joking about it, and Carrie was super supportive of me throughout all of it. Stuck to it. Self-care, self-care. Just take it seriously.
Oh, and remembering that your supervisor is always there. I know that Chris mentioned this, but I still access my social work supervisor even though I'm not being supervised anymore technically. I still go to her with questions because I know that she's always there, and things keep coming up. So as you're getting supervised afterwards, just because it ends doesn't always mean that it specifically ends. So
It's usually the sign of a good social worker to seek consultation.
Yep. So you're never trying to do it all alone. Yeah.
debriefing is so important.
Yeah. Thank you. I love these messages. I hear themes of relationships. I hear themes of your own interpersonal skills, and also self-care. Those are all great things, so it's really helpful to hear. This is a little bit different angle, thinking about macro. If you could speak to, are you aware of or thinking about any either societal trends or legislative trends that you think are having an impact on the demand for social workers in the future? So any societal or legislative trends? I know you all want to say, can we wait until after the election, but, for now, what do you think?
I can take this one, or at least part of it from my perspective. In healthcare, the Accountable Care Act has really driven a lot more opportunity for us to look at what's getting in the way for patients. We had care as usual, but how do we provide even better care now? Because patient experience, if you guys are familiar with the triple aim, it's all about providing good patient experience, having good quality outcomes, and providing excellent care that reduces the total cost of care for people. So I think with the Accountable Care Act, organizations, payers, insurance companies are all looking to say, how can we do more for patients? How can we make sure that what care we were providing in the past actually exceeds that now? And because of the payment models, that is really supported. The way that we're getting paid for healthcare is different. It's not a widget anymore. It's not saying how many people do we see and we get paid X dollars for seeing those people or providing different services. But now it's like a capitated model where if an organization contracts with an insurance group to manage X number of patients, they get paid X number of dollars. If they provide the care for less than the cost that they contracted for, they come out ahead. If it costs them more, then they lose on that deal. And so what's really exciting about that is you're able to add roles that weren't previously reimbursable and that we know can really make a difference in the care or the outcomes of these patients. So examples like care coordination. Care coordination has not been a position where healthcare home or there's a TCM billing. There's some billing mechanisms which haven't really come to fruition or provided a lot of cost offset for the role of care coordination. But a capitated payment model allows that when you're able to say, we're going to manage this population as best we can with the resources we know that can do it. And we don't care if we can bill for it or not. We want to see the driver move, the outcome improve. So one thing I'm working on right now is behavioral health home certification. It's another example of this type of model where patients with medical assistance and mental health diagnoses would receive really enhanced care transitions, care coordination support. So that's a little bit of background for my perspective, my work.
Thank you. Emily, you look like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I just know that in my realm of the work that we do, of course, when we are looking at the treatment for eating disorders and on the legislative level, at least, that we have to deal with insurance companies, and it kind of goes off of what Chris was saying. And when we are looking at the issue of eating disorders, a lot of insurance companies have a really hard time recognizing eating disorders as mental illnesses. So getting them access to complete coverage for care in a residential facility and even in outpatient facilities can be very, very difficult. And so right now there's actually legislation out there. It's called the Anna Weston Act. And it is the first act of its kind that has been put out there right now. It's specific for Minnesota, but we're hoping that if it is passed, that it is able, that if that's passed, that we can expand it out to reach areas further than just Minnesota alone. However, it's going to be one of the first acts that will, if passed, it's going to ensure that all insurance companies treat every individual that's coming forward with an eating disorder in the exact same ways as they treat any other person who is coming forward with a mental illness issue, and making sure that they get the insurance coverage that they need. Because if they don't have access to the care that they need, then they're not going to be able to get completely and totally better. So I know at the legislative level, that's one of the main things that we have going on right now in the realm of eating disorders. So.
And does it have that name after a person who suffered from an eating disorder?
Yes, it does. So Anna Weston, she passed away in the year 2000, and she passed away due to the result of her eating disorder. And when that happened, her family ended up becoming extremely outraged by that experience, of course. What happened was when she was struggling with her eating disorder, she ended up in what we call the revolving door. And she would be covered by insurance and get admitted into a hospital setting until her body was considered medically stable. And then insurance would completely and totally cut off coverage. And then they would send her home. And she was in this revolving door. She would get sent home. She wasn't getting access to the treatment that she needed to help address the physical and mental aspect of an eating disorder. So she would come home, she would get sick again, and then she would get sent back to the hospital, get better physically, and then not get coverage again, or coverage would get cut off. And so she ended up passing away as a result of that. And her family, Kitty Weston, Kitty Weston created the Anna Weston Foundation in 2007. And in 2007, as a result of that, so the Anna Weston Foundation was created because she actually sued the insurance company, and she got a settlement as a result of that. And so she created the Anna Weston Foundation, which is currently the Emily Program Foundation, which is where I work. And they made that in order to help people receive the education and the advocacy and the scholarships that they need when they're seeking treatment. So it's now known as the Emily Program Foundation. So yeah. A little bit of background on that.
Yeah, thank you for adding that history. Kiana, you look like you might have something?
So I think funding continues to be an issue, especially, in the behavioral health services and mental health and all of that. So, and with the Affordable Care Act and insurance being a requirement for people to have, a lot more people are wanting to use their insurance for services, and sometimes services, especially at my company, it's a private company, that aren't covered by insurance. Like insurance doesn't cover an intervention, or it doesn't cover, telephonic year-long case management for the patient and the family. So working with the insurance companies to be able to help them to see the outcomes that we have and how the preventative care portion of it is so important and can really help deter healthcare costs in the future. So that's kind of something that we've been working on. And then, with addiction in general, especially with opiates and, painkillers and all of that, it's just a ridiculous boom, right now. Everyone is over-medicated and needing that extra support. So just continuing to look for areas that we can be able to service clients and that it's not a financial barrier, for them. And not related to my field is kind of the older adult population. That's, again, with the baby boomers and everything, a very significant area to go into if you're not sure or, or anything like that, because there's going to be a higher need for that group also.
Yeah, that's a good point. Katie, did you get to talk? Did we hear from everybody? Yeah. Okay, nothing new to add. All right. And can I check in on the time? I don't.
We're scheduled for the 1:15. I don't know
Okay.
people have to leave before then.
Okay.
But we want to open up the Q&A as well.
Because your breakdown here went for an hour, so I just wanted to double check on that. So these are really, there is one follow-up, and I won't ask everybody to speak to this, and then we'll open it up to questions, just if maybe one or two of you wants to say something. Do you see other positions in your field or in your place of work that maybe aren't specifically with a social work title, but have that skill set that somebody could step into? Other opportunities that you see? I stumped them.
For the neighborhood house, a lot of the direct service
Who are you
people.
talking
Oh
to?
yeah,
Sorry.
sorry. I'm listening to you.
I'm kind of bossy with the microphone, but if we're recording.
Yeah, for NABE, I feel like we have 70 staff, and there's probably 40 direct service people, maybe 50, but everyone is always like, oh, I wish I had a social work background. Maybe they're human services, or they haven't gotten a college degree yet, and they just kind of wound up here. But when they hear, we talk about the big picture thinking, they're like, wow, I never thought of that. I feel like everyone really appreciates the social work background, and I think a lot of people are wishing they had gone into social work, or maybe they're thinking about it in the future. So I think, a lot of the direct service fields in my agency, nonprofit work, definitely are wishing they did social work.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a call center that's we call it the front of the house. So it's kind of pre-treatment sort of services. And we have people that tend to not have any sort of degree or licensure in terms of social work or the behavioral sciences. And they're kind of the front of the line people, you know, so they're the first person that answers the phone and kind of assesses the situation and sees what they could need, whether it's an intervention or case management or, you know, whatever the services are. And we know that assessment is a huge part of social work. So that's a role that's not typically a social work assigned position. However, all of the skills that we talked about are very key in that role too.
Put a quick plug for some jobs we have opening right now.
Oh, yeah, move that microphone closer, would you? Wait.
Quick plug for some openings we have right now at Fairview in the behavioral services. In our intake department for Fairview Counseling Services, we have a BSW position. It could be filled by anyone with a bachelor's degree, but really having a social worker in that role would be awesome, because this person will do the scheduling for all of our therapists, be on a team of schedulers who schedule for all of our therapists, as well as the psychiatry service that we manage. So there's 4 psychiatric providers that are located across the 7-county area, and those folks would really benefit from having a social worker, because patients you're the first point of contact for a patient, and so having a social worker on the other end of the phone for them would be fantastic. So consider that. A couple other options that we have are behavioral health home social work care coordinator roles. We're going to be hiring 5. Right now we have 4 posted. But these are new roles that have not been available previously in our organization for bachelor level work. And they'll be at our Andover clinic. So they're located in primary care. They'll serve as a part of a really unique team with a behavioral health clinician that's a master's level mental health professional, community health worker, which is a new evolving role in health settings, and then that social work care coordinator. And you'd be working together to serve a panel of about 67 to 100 patients. And you would really work closely with those patients to make sure that their care is coordinated and pretty seamless. So there's some really cool new roles that are coming out of that. And there'll be some great outcomes that we'll be able to measure to say, is what we set out to do really making a difference? So we're working with DHS to have great outcome data. So I'll just reiterate those sites. So it's Andover. We'll have a Smiley's Clinic location in the future, which is off of Hiawatha Avenue, Minneapolis. And we'll have a clinic at the Fairview Hiawatha Clinic. We'll have a role. Maple Grove and the Riverside Clinic, which is in the professional building on the West Bank. So really excited about those and looking forward to seeing people come through for interviews.
People who are interested, how would they find?
Some flyers right over there.
All right, we're good to go with some flyers if anybody's interested.
They got the web address where you'd go and enter your application.
Well, let me open this up to questions just in case some people do have to leave at 1, though we do have time until 1:15. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask of our panel? Because I have more questions I can ask if you don't. Carrie's, okay. Carrie and then, okay. So for the purpose of the recording, let me repeat. The question from the field coordinator is, is there anything that you wish that you had done or tried or learned while you were in field? Is that a fair, that would have prepared you better?
I, in field, wish that I would have done what I actually did when I got the list of these questions, which is talk to a supervisor, somebody above you, about what other people do at your agency. I learned so much, and I learned that I can actually do a lot more than I thought I could within my agency. So either like reaching out, connecting to other people who do different jobs, figure out what they do every day so that you have an idea of what other people do.
I actually wouldn't do anything differently. I really appreciated the opportunity to have a diverse set of experiences of domestic violence, juvenile detention, individual therapy, you know, so I felt very fortunate to be able to kind of be out of my comfort zone and try multiple different things and learn quickly what really resonates and what I'll let someone else do. So.
All right, thank you.
I think I'm probably similar to Kiana, because when I had my senior internship, I was at the Bridge for Youth, and when I was there, I was originally in the emergency housing part of the Bridge for Youth, and when I was there, I took the advice of somebody on my team, my supervisor, and she said, hey, I think you would be really great at doing community education and doing outreach. And one of our and the person that was doing that at the time, she came and did a presentation, and I followed my gut, and I talked to her, gave her my name, and said, I want to work with you. And she said, that's never happened before, but let's figure something out. So I was glad that I was able to actually do that. So I think that it's important to sort of take the advice that we've already heard. And really, people that you come across in your internships, they are there to be really, really awesome resources. And the more questions you ask, the more advance you're going to be able to get and the more experience you're going to be able to get. And I didn't know that I would see myself running 3 different support groups and at this time in my life. But because of the experience that I got and the people around me that pushed me to do it, I really learned a lot from that. So that's what I would really say is, take advantage of those opportunities.
Well, another example of the benefits of assertiveness.
Yeah, also being assertive. I was an intern last year at Neighborhood House, and then now I am the task supervisor for 2 St. Thomas social work interns. And it's really crazy to flip roles. And then now I sometimes I have to stop and think because I feel like as a task supervisor, I feel like I get so wrapped up in what I need to do. It's hard for me to be present in the moment with my interns and really think, okay, are they getting all the learning they need? Are they bored? Do they have too many responsibilities? So I've noticed with one of my interns, he's really great at just being assertive and saying, hey, I really want to learn more. Can I do this? Can I do this? Or I just love his assertiveness. And I think it also I've worked with a lot of other interns that are at the agency, just as friends, not really friends, but helping them out too. And I think it's just being assertive in your internship, because the supervisors are just so busy. I think sometimes they don't always notice what you need. So just be bold to say what you need, and you can learn a lot more.
All right, thank you. And we had another question over here.
Question. So there's
So let me just repeat the question. So is the care coordinator position unique to Fairview or found in other places as well?
it will be found in other places as well. I don't know that they will have it as a bachelor level position or a master's level. The requirement may vary depending on where you go. But there's about 40 organizations across the state that are pursuing behavioral health home certification. And so they will all be staffing up. If they don't use their existing resources that they have now, they would be having to staff up for those roles.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, I think we will wrap up. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists.
I have a plug. I have a couple little plugs.
Please, give a plug.
And my husband sent me on a mission too. He's like, you're talking to social workers, make sure you tell. So a couple different things. So if you do know anyone that is struggling with addiction or mental health and could benefit from an intervention or, a year of case management or things like that, please let me know. I do have cards available for that. As well as my company, we're not hiring right now, but we probably will be soon at some point as there's some contracts that we're working on. So if in the future what I said seemed interesting or you have more questions for me, I can give you my contact info, and I'd love to talk. The other piece, my husband works at Catholic Charities right now, and he's in the HR department, so he directly looks at all the resumes. So drop my name. But they are they are hiring 20 social workers right now at all levels of degrees. I think you do need some sort of a license, but I think even April, as early as in April start date, is something that they're looking at. So right on Catholic Charities website, they have everything posted and stuff there too. So just wanted to throw that out there and let him know I did tell you all about that.
All right. This is the opportunity to be assertive if you're looking for a job. Okay, thank you.